We're going to get right to our big interview to react to all that and more. We have Senator Al Franken, Democrat of Minnesota, and a member of the Judiciary Committee. He is also the author of the new book, Al Franken, Giant of the Senate. Welcome back to 30 Rock, your home away from home, I think, in many regards.
Well, I enjoy being on MSNBC, and I do recall being here for 15 seasons with SNL.
SNL, yeah. Absolutely. Well, we're going to get right to the White House shakeup. Do you think it is fair to say that this is part of President Trump's attempt to get away from certain facets of Washington? He said he ran as an outsider. He's now going to bring in outsiders because this grand experiment of working with political insiders in Washington does not appear to have worked.
He was working with political insiders, not so much, but some. I don't know what this is. I mean, I respect General Kelly. I voted for him for Homeland Security, and he'll still be, it all comes from the top. That's what I like to say in my office, anyway.
I'm sure it applies there. How about Anthony Scaramucci? How does he fit into this outside the Beltway mentality? I mean, can you at least understand why the president might have brought him in after all? I mean, basically, this is a guy, he's played both sides of the aisle, right? He's donated to the Clinton campaign. He's donated to the Obama campaign. So this is an outsider.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it depends what kind of outsider you bring in. So far, I haven't found him impressive. The remarks he made to Ryan Lizza at the New Yorker, you know, he's head of the White House communications operation, and he doesn't know that if you talk to a reporter and you want something to be off the record, you say, "This is off the record," right? And then you can say the thing he said if you don't care if that reporter respects you or not. For going further, but that's crazy. This is the head of White House communications operations. Didn't know that you. And then he said that stuff.
But you know what? There were so many who tried to either defend him or at least put that into context. I remember Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying in a news conference after that profanity-laced tirade, she said, well, you know, this is a guy who's got strong opinions and he's outspoken and that sort of thing. So what do you think of people who try to put him into context that way?
You can express strong opinions in different ways. And those I think are inappropriate for the head of communications from the White House, and I think everybody knows it.
Okay, let's talk about Jeff Sessions here. And what happens if the president fires him? Because there is a theory that has been floated, this by former White House Press Secretary Dana Perino. Let's take a listen to that.
Okay. Republicans and conservatives that came to Jeff Sessions' defense this week all said, but he's doing the best on the issue we care about the most, and that is immigration. Well, where can Jeff Sessions do even more on immigration as the Secretary of Homeland Security? So I think that what they're going to try to do is move
and everyone else
Sessions over to DHS, and then how can the conservatives complain? And then you have a new AG, he thinks, can then fire Mueller.
I've got to say, this idea of moving Sessions over to DHS, it was another idea floated to me by Jeremy Peters of the New York Times just this morning on my broadcast, saving the part about firing Mueller. That part was not discussed. But how do you think Democrats would respond?
Saving that part.
Yeah, saving that part, because, you know, we don't know what would happen for sure. But in terms of moving him, how would Democrats respond if Sessions moves from AG to DHS?
I think this whole idea, look, I have real problems with Jeff Sessions. I voted against him for AG. He responded to questions of mine not truthfully. I have real problems, and I think he needs to come before the Judiciary Committee.
Again?
And yeah, once since it's his confirmation hearings. It'd be for the first time since those statements that he made where he said he had not had communications with the Russians, and it turned out he did. There seems to be a collective amnesia on Russians when it comes to the Trump administration, so he needs to explain himself on that. All that said, this idea of getting him out of the way so that the president can fire Mueller is something that I think would, if the president goes through with that, which would create a constitutional crisis.
So do you want to ask him about that? I mean, that exchange with you during his confirmation was pretty tense. So what would you want to ask him now? Because you want him back.
Yeah, I would. I want to ask why he didn't correct himself. He said, I asked him, he didn't answer my question. I asked him if, essentially, would he recuse himself? It turned out that members of the Trump team had contact with the Russians during the campaign. And instead of answering my question, he said that I didn't have contact with Russians during the campaign. Then it turned out 7 weeks later, it was revealed that he did with Kislyak, and now it looks like he had a third meeting. And that's when he recused himself. He didn't recuse himself until then. And he has said some contradictory things about that. I want him before the committee, and I want to ask him about why he didn't. He knew he had met with Kislyak. He could have corrected himself any time before it was the Washington Post revealed it.
When someone says, though, I forgot, how do you combat that?
Well, he didn't forget. He said that, and he said, on second thought, I should have had more patience and then just said, oh, yeah, I met with Kislyak. Well, if that meant he remembered. So, and now he just talks around it by saying, I never had contact with Russians during the campaign about the campaign interfering with the campaign. And so he's changed his story. I want him in front of our committee. So does Chairman Grassley, more importantly, probably.
Do you think Jeff Sessions is a good man who deserves better, or do you think he is not a good man, but were the president to fire him, then the president would be going too far, removing him from AG?
I'm not going to. Only God can make that judgment. But I don't think that if the president fires him in order to clear the way to firing the special prosecutor, that either will create a constitutional crisis, or we will, in the Senate and House, just pass a new special prosecutor law and put Mueller back in, I would think.
With regard to the subpoenas issued by the Senate Judiciary Committee to Paul Manafort and Donald Trump Jr. to come and appear, it was my understanding that was supposed to happen sometime this week. Heard nothing about that. What's the status there?
We haven't actually issued a subpoena for Donald Jr., but we've been talking to both. They are going to testify before two members of the staff and members of the committee. We also have documents. They're cooperating on providing documents. But we reserve the right, and I feel that they should both testify publicly before judiciary.
To hear what questions from you?
Oh, I want to hear, did you meet with any other Russians? Because there seems to be this collective amnesia among members of the Trump administration, the Trump family, and, the reason I feel so strongly about the special prosecutor is that Mueller is incredibly well respected, and I believe he's going to get to the bottom of this, and so we'll see where it goes. So I'm not prejudging this, but this is part of our job as a Judiciary Committee, certainly.
There are a lot of people who feel the way you do about Bob Mueller, but he has taken a lot of heat for leaking information that he wanted made public. Where do you stand on that?
I'm not aware of that.
Well, it is alleged, you've heard about the allegations, correct, that he leaked information to a reporter so that it would get out there after he'd left the office.
No,
as
that's
FBI
Comey.
Director. Comey, yes, I'm sorry. I meant to say Comey. Where do you think?
Because we were talking about Mueller, right?
We were talking about Mueller, but
okay.
Again, Mueller replacing Comey. With Comey's regard, I mean, he's a guy who also was a titan in Washington, D.C.
Well, wait a minute. First of all, he didn't leak anything. He gave some information. I mean, you don't leak stuff that isn't classified. So he just gave it to a friend who gave it to some reporters because the president had said he better hope there's been no tape recordings of our conversations, which is Trump's way of saying what he said is false, and what he gave to a friend were contemporaneous notes and contemporaneous notes are very commonly accepted in court as reliable testimony. So that's all he did. He didn't leak any classified information or anything like that.
All right, what about the Trump family? Because we all got to hear from Jared Kushner earlier this week. Do you take him at his word? Do you think that there's no more there?
No, I mean, no. He has had to refile his disclosure form a number of times. I've written a letter asking for at least to suspend his security clearance. I think, you know, who knows? This may come down to what did the president know and when did his son-in-law tell him?
And how do you find that out?
Well, we have this guy, Bob Mueller, and he is going to find that out. And you know, what happens very often is that people commit crimes along the way, either in the cover-up or had before, and they plea bargain. And part of that is you get information out. That's how it normally happens. Now, I'm not prejudging this at all. I'm saying we should be, I'm looking forward to starting to work in a bipartisan way on shoring up the exchanges, making the exchanges in the ACA stronger, bringing down health care costs, bringing down especially pharmaceutical costs. Everyone knows they've spiked. There's ways that we can bring those down. I have a comprehensive bill to do that. We need to be doing that in regular order. In the HELP Committee, Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee. I look forward to working with Chairman Alexander and all my other Republican colleagues on doing that.
So with regard to health care, as a Democrat, do you think the failure to repeal and replace actually could help Republicans in the long run in some factor? The fact that their policy, such as it was, didn't have a lot of public approval. So the fact that this has gone down,
I mean, it depends
ultimately,
which poll you're looking at, but it was 17%, there was some 12%. Look, they had 7+ years to come up with a strategy to repeal and replace. Everything they proposed was terrible. Everything they proposed took insurance away from millions and millions and millions of Americans and raised costs. It may be the best thing that happened to them that Senators Collins and Murkowski and McCain voted against.
Did you know what McCain was going to do? Were you surprised by that?
I wasn't surprised in the moment. I was watching body language, and there would seem to be a moment when the vice president left the floor. You may remember in the last vote, he presided over that whole vote, and when he left the floor, I felt that it was a nice moment, though.
Why do you think he did that?
Well, you know, when he gave his speech after here's a guy who was just diagnosed with brain cancer. He flies in to take a vote. After the vote says, look, we should probably do this in regular order. I'm not happy with anything I'm seeing right now. I'll vote no against what I'm seeing. So it shouldn't have been surprising. You know, he did say we should go to regular order. That's how we should get things done here. And I could see someone who gave that same speech voting no then. But he gave his colleagues, his Republican colleagues, a chance to come up with something. And everything they came up with was just dreadful. And this thing was hardly could even be called a bill. So it's not surprising that he voted no. And I think that Senator Collins and Senator Murkowski both deserve tremendous credit because they were staunch. And
they did not waver.
And Senator Murkowski received some pressure that I think she's not a transactional senator. She is here trying to make good public policy. I have a tremendous respect for Lisa Murkowski and for Senator Collins, but I think they couldn't have played it worse with her, probably.
There are a few new books out. You have one we're going to talk about, but Hillary Clinton has one as well. And hers is called What Happened. It's about the campaign. What do you think happened? That should be coming out shortly, that book. But what do you think happened?
Well, I think that's why they should just, before it comes out, there could be a question mark after that. I think it'd be a better title, well, I think a lot of things happened, and I think one of the things that happened was that polling was such, and I believe that she felt that she was going to win. I think Donald Trump thought she was going to win, and I think they played it safe, and they thought that all they had to do was keep talking about Trump and they'd win. And I do think that the Comey decision 11 days before the election, and I do think that the Russian hacking, but not just the hacking, but then releasing all this is where fake news came from in the cycle of fake news, was 1,000 trolls from Russia putting out fake news. So yeah, the Podesta emails are leaked, but was there anything really damaging in them? No, but they made fake things, like they put out, and a lot of people believed that Hillary Clinton and her campaign manager had a child sex ring under a pizza place.
That was shocking.
Yeah, well,
that was crazy.
Well, a lot of people thought that is shocking. That's terrible that she would have a child sex ring below a pizza.
I just thought it was shocking that it was set.
I know that,
yeah.
But this got into, they were very, they used very sophisticated knowledge of where to send this news, and that's going to be one of the questions in this investigation. The Mueller investigation is it's a question whether there was cooperation between the Trump campaign and the Russians in terms of the data about where to send this.
I'm so excited to read this book, Al Franken, Giant of the Senate. What can I most look forward to in this book, aside from laughing, which I have done very heartily thus far?
Well, I think you'll have to decide for yourself, first of all, after you read it, whether I'm in fact a giant of the Senate. It basically answers some of the questions that I've been getting. For example, maybe the question I get asked most is, being a senator as much fun as working on Saturday Night Live? And the answer, of course, is no. No way should it be. But it's still the best job I've ever had, because you get to accomplish things. And, for example, the Affordable Care Act, which has expanded coverage and care for over 20 million people. We have some weaknesses in it that we've wanted to address all along, but couldn't get our Republican colleagues to do it. I now look forward to being able to do that. A lot of people ask me how you make the transition from someone who worked in this building on the 17th floor and on the 8th floor, and now I'm here talking to you on the 3rd floor as a senator, how I made that transition. And then, I talk about my colleagues, and I have great friendships. Lindsey Graham, great guy, very funny. When he was running 15th out of 17th in the Republican primaries, I said to him, Lindsey, if I were a Republican, I'd vote for you in the primaries. And he said, that's my problem.
Thank you so much. It was a great honor to talk with you. So much fun as well.
Lovely.
And this book is going to be awesome on the plane today. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great plane ride.
All right, Al Franken.
Traveling anywhere, get that for
anywhere,
the plane
take
ride.
that book. More reaction to the crazy week in Washington coming up next.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.